Welcome to episode 3 of ASMR Sea Shanties with your host Quetzal. Today we are looking at the song My Jolly Sailor Bold. I say song instead of shanty, as this song, based on its format, does not resemble a shanty, and thus was likely never a shanty. There's no chorus or callback between head singer and crew. There are no refrains or repetitions even resembling a chorus, but I wanted to focus on it this episode as it was adapted as a shanty in its appearance in Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. I liked the melody but was surprised I'd never heard it before. Furthermore, I couldn't find any other rendition of the song pre-2011, and all renditions post-2011 were fan pieces crediting the movie. So I got to doing a bit of research. The earliest recording of the song dates back to John Ashton's book, Real Sailor Songs, published in 1891, meaning logically the song existed earlier than that, though at the time of it being recorded by Ashton, such seafarer songs were losing popularity, so he says in the introduction of his book, hence spurring him to record these fading sea songs of his time. I found his book's intro an interesting glimpse of his time and sentiment towards the songs, so I would like to share some of it before launching into the song proper.
The day of real sailor songs has long since passed and gone. They died out with the Old French War and its consequent peace. In the Old War, they were at their best, and they died in their prime. They were odorous of the sea because they were of it, and were part and parcel of the life thereon. They are dead, and the songs sung by sailors nowadays come direct from the music halls. Except in the Navy, there are no long cruises, and the short voyages enable seafarers to keep themselves au courant with the last thing out in songs. The old motif is gone, for in the war with Russia in 1854 to 1856, there was little to record in the deeds of the Navy. But the old ones occupy a position all their own. They were the Chants of Roland, so to speak. They sang stories of England's glory, of Jack's disasters at sea, of his solace ashore, of his loves, etc. They were sung equally in the forecastle and the wardroom, and many of those I have selected bear internal evidence of the poetic genius of both places. The local allusions, in many cases, bear undoubted testimony to their geniusness. Some of them were of unconscionable length, but this may be taken as a sign of their antiquity, like those songs of 30 or 40 verses which we occasionally hear crooned in the out-of-the-way country places, having been handed down from generation to generation, but which will soon become things of the past. The songs of 3 to 6 verses are all modern. In collecting these sailor songs, I've had to reject very many, not only for want of space, but that they were too obviously the manufacture of, that despised of, Jack the landlubber, and I have omitted the whole of Dibdin's as they were songs for sailors, but not necessarily sailor songs. The earliest known English sea song is in a manuscript of the time of Henry VI in the library of Trinity College, Cambridge, and it refers to the pilgrims who went yearly to worship at the shrine of St. James the Apostle at Compostela. The illustrations in the original broadsheets were served out with severe impartiality, very often, nay mostly, not having the remotest connection with the ballad. I have endeavored to remedy this, as far as possible, by heading the songs, as near as could be, with a picture somewhat resembling the verse matter. Of course, I have not succeeded, but they are more closely related to the song than they were in the original, whilst retaining all of their quaintness. John Ashton.
Next comes everyone's favorite part, the vocab list. First off is Waping, referring to the district of the same name in East London, Wapping borders the northern bank of the River Thames and historically had a strong maritime presence with its many docks and warehouses. Wapping Wall is a street that runs along the northern bank of the Thames, though in the context of the song Wapping Wall, or the Wall of Wapping in the lyrics, is most likely referring to an actual wall built to prevent the river from flooding Wapping. Our singer was likely taking a stroll along the street bordering said wall. Gay. Here is being used in the traditional sense of the word, meaning happy and jolly. Ne'er. An archaic shorthand way of writing never, often seen in poetry or old plays. Similarly, you'll see over written as o'er, often written as oft, and etc. Slows. Our singer describes her sailor as having eyes black as sloes. Sloe here may be referring to black sloe, Prunus umbellata, a wild plum known for its small and sour fruits. However, given this is a wild plant native to the southern U.S. and doesn't appear particularly dark, the song is most likely referring to blackthorn, Prunus spinosa. Blackthorn is also called sloe. It's related to the rose family, is native to Eurasia, and bears dark blueberry-looking fruits. These fruits have historically been used for ink making, or for being fermented into wine or liquor. Tower Hill and Blackwall. Verse 2 of the song mentions these locations in the line, "From Tower Hill down to Blackwall." These are both locations in London along the River Thames. Tower Hill, just west of Wapping, is where you will find the Tower of London, which itself is a part of His Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London. Back in the day, the tower was famous for being the site of public executions. Blackwall is a bit further east of Wapping. Its name comes from a wall that, like our Wall of Wapping, was built to prevent flooding of the River Thames. It's a mostly residential area, at least nowadays, but provides generous space for mooring ships. Tower Hill to Blackwall is give or take an hour and a half walk, and nowadays that includes a ferry for some of the trek. Now let's take a quick pause here to look at currency conversion and inflation. Stanza 3 mentions the singer's father's wealth, and how, in light of it, her father disapproves of her falling for a sailor. This song was only first recorded in 1891. I think it's safe to assume this song at least existed in 1800, if not sooner. But for the sake of a nice clean number, let's see what £300,000 was worth in 1800. Back then, one British pound was worth $4.44. So £300,000 would have been worth $1,332,000. That's a nice sum of money for 1800. Now let's take a look at inflation. $1 in 1800 would be the equivalent of $24.08 today. So our singer's father's fortune would be worth $32,074,560. I actually doubted my calculator inputs, so I did the math by hand, only to prove that, yep, Papa was loaded. No wonder he didn't approve of a lowly sailor. Verse 4 starts with the line, "A fig for his riches." To not give a fig is a rather informal and old-timey way to say to not give a fuck, to not care at all about something. So here our singer is rather bitter and flippant about her father's wealth compared to her love for the sailor. At the end of this same verse, the singer rhymes far with tar, saying she'll hold her jolly tar close. Tar is slang for sailor, as it's short for tarpaulin, the material sailor clothes were often made of. Tarpaulin actually includes tar in its making in order for the material to be waterproof. Coming up to our second to last dissection, we'll take a look at Ratcliffe Highway, which the song takes us to in verse 5. What was once known as Ratcliffe Highway has now become incorporated into what is simply called the Highway in London. The route dates back to the time of the Romans, and this segment of the highway had the meaning of Red Cliff, referring to the red cliffs the highway used to run along. These red cliffs sloped down towards the marshes of Wapping just south of the highway. This line of the song further makes me trust the song existed well before 1800. The Ratcliffe Highway murders of 1811, in which two families were brutally murdered just days apart from one another, would have scarred the city and left a negative association to the area. And yet the song's lyrics describe maidens happily meeting and embracing their sailor lovers there. I doubt the original composer or composers would have chosen the site of brutal murders of the time as a place for lovers to meet and enjoy time together, thus dating the song to before the murders of 1811, in my humble opinion, by many years, if not centuries. Last but not least, the last stanza tells us that the singer is willing to give up £3,000 a year to be with her sailor. Given the conversion rates we used just earlier, that would be the equivalent of at least $320,745 a year. Papa was making 6 digits. Am I jealous? Just a little bit. So anyhow, given the locations in the song, I have a suspicion the singer either lives in Wapping or her father works extensively there. At the very least, she lives north of the River Thames, as she cites neighborhoods side by side north of the river that she ambles, pining for her sailor. Neighborhoods that had a fair amount of maritime activity due to their proximity to the river. And with that, let us launch into the song. Big thank you to CaptainMattASMR for reading parts of the intro for us, and a big welcome to PearBlossom for joining me in singing the song.
Upon one summer's morning, I carelessly did stray down by the walls of Wapping, where I met a sailor gay, conversing with a bouncing lass who seemed to be in pain, saying, William, when you go, I fear you'll never return again. His hair it does in ringlets hang, his eyes as black as sloes. May happiness attend him wherever he goes. From Tower Hill down to Blackwall I wander, weep and moan. Oh, for my jolly sailor boat until he does return. My father is a merchant, the truth I now will tell, and in great London city in opulence doth dwell. His fortune doth exceed 300,000 pounds in gold, and he frowns upon his daughter, 'cause she loves a sailor bold. A fig for his riches, his merchandise and gold. True love is grafted in my heart, give me my sailor bold. Should he return in poverty from o'er the ocean far, to my tender bosom I'll fondly press my jolly tar. My sailor is as smiling as the pleasant month of May, and oft we have wandered through Radcliffe Highway, where many a pretty blooming girl we happy did behold, reclining on the bosom of her jolly sailor boat. Come, oh, you pretty fair maids, whoever you may be, who love a jolly sailor boat that plows the raging sea, while up aloft in storm or gale from me his absence mourn, and firmly pray arrive the day he home will safe return. My name it is Maria, a merchant's daughter fair, and I have left my parents and 3,000 pounds a year. My heart is pierced by Cupid, I disdain all glittering gold. There is nothing can console me but my jolly sailor boat. My heart is pierced by Cupid, I disdain all glittering gold. There is nothing can console me but my jolly sailor boat.